Oluwasun, Aluko. Real stories, real lives, real change. My prison stories with Oluwasun, Aluko.
What if the people meant to protect you were the very ones who destroyed you? What if the only home you ever knew was also your prison? Today, on My Prison Stories, we bring you the haunting tale of Fola, a woman whose childhood was stolen, whose body was used as currency, and whose name was once whispered in accusations of murder. This is not Nollywood fiction. This is reality. There are stories you hear and instantly dismiss as fiction. Tales so heavy, so bizarre, you'd swear they belong only in the movies. But sometimes, reality is darker than anything script could create. This is one of those stories, the story of Fola. On the 22nd of August, in Ilesa, Osun State, I sat with a woman whose life had been nothing short of a storm. She's 33 years old, a fashion designer, a mother, and a survivor. Out of fear, out of shame, out of desire to simply move on, she begged us not to show her face or record her voice. And yet, she agreed to let her story be told because silence, she realized, had already cost her too much. Fola was born in April of 1992. Her father had died just months before she entered the world. Her mother remarried to a man named Adeleke, though most people simply called him Delike. He was known in the neighborhood and community, but not for anything noble. When Fola was just 5 years old, tragedy struck again. Her mother died under mysterious circumstances. Fola's only memory of that night was the faint sound of a scream piercing the walls, and then nothing. Darkness, silence. By dawn, her mother was gone. From then on, life became a cage. Deleke moved Fola and her two younger half-brothers, Desoji and Detola, to Ibadan. There, he opened a small beer parlor. But for Fola, the bar was not just a business. It became a prison. At the age of 10, she was already serving alcohol to grown men. At 11, she was no longer just a child. She was no longer running just errands. She was bait, entertainment for drunk and lecherous customers. They touched her. They whispered vile things in her ear. They laughed at her innocence while stripping it away. And all the while, the man she was forced to call her father looked on, not with concern, but with greed. He didn't care as long as his customers were happy, as long as the money flowed. Fola's body was a currency he was willing to spend. By 12, the unthinkable had become normal. She was already sleeping with men. She believed this was what life was, what it meant to be loved, to be wanted. When a man didn't touch her, she thought something was wrong with her. She threw herself at them, desperate to please, desperate to matter. By 16, she had been with well over 70 men. Some of them even joked about it in her presence, mocking her as if she were not human, but an object to be passed around. By then, Fola had lost any real sense of childhood. But the horror deepened. One Sunday evening, after closing from the bar, Deleke called her aside. What he demanded that night broke even the twisted limits she thought she had grown used to. He wanted her to teach his sons, her stepbrothers, what it meant to be with a woman. At first, she resisted. For the first time in her life, she wanted to say no. But resistance was never an option in that house. A few days later, she gave in, and with that, her last shred of innocence was gone. From that point on, her world shrank even further. She was locked indoors, no longer shared with customers, but reserved solely for her stepbrothers. Requests came from men outside, but they were turned down. Her body now belonged to the household alone. By 18, she had been with nearly 100 men, many against her will, including her own brothers. She had undergone multiple abortions, so many that she had stopped keeping count. Her womb, her body, her soul, all had been battered beyond recognition. Then came January of 2011, another abortion, another clinic, another day of despair. But this time, she overheard something that stopped her cold. The nurse, speaking in hushed tones to Adeleke, warned that this procedure could end Fola's ability to ever conceive again, or worse, it could end her life, as they may need to take out the womb. Fola froze at the door. For the first time, she realized death might come not from her abusers, but from within her own body. Panic surged through her veins, and before Deleke or the nurse could notice, she ran. She didn't know where she was running to. She didn't care. She just ran. For 2 days and 2 nights, she wandered the streets of Ibadan. She slept on pavements, in corners. Wherever her legs gave way, she expected the worst: harassment, arrest, assault. But strangely, no one touched her. Hunger gnawed at her, loneliness wrapped around her like chains. And on the third day, she gave up. She decided to return. Maybe, she thought, this was her fate. Maybe she wasn't meant to escape. Maybe she was born to be broken. But fate had written something else. As she approached her neighborhood, she noticed smoke, a crowd, whispers, the house, her prison was gone, burnt to the ground. Charred walls stood like skeletons, blackened with soot, faces turned towards her. A finger pointed, then another, then the murmurs became accusations. They said she hated them. She must have done it. She burned the house with them inside. Inside that house, her stepfather and her stepbrothers had died in the fire. And before she could even process the scene, she was dragged to the police. Fola was detained, pregnant, alone, accused of a crime she had not committed, accused of murder by fire. For 5 long months, she rotted in detention. The weight of her unborn child inside her, the weight of hatred outside. The only evidence the police had was that she had hated the abusers, and that, she admitted, was true. She did hate them, but hatred is not the same as guilt. Eventually, with no evidence, she was released, broken but free. Years have passed since then. Today, Fola lives quietly in Ilesa. She raises her son away from the spotlight, away from the pain. She refuses to marry, refuses to walk into another cage. But she had made one vow, that her boy will never taste the life she lived. He would know love, he will know freedom, he will know dignity. Fola's story is not just about abuse, it's about survival. It is about how easily society looks away while children are broken. And it is about how, even when the chains are shattered, the scars never truly fade. For every Fola who speaks, there are countless others trapped in silence. And until we build a world where love replaces exploitation, until we protect rather than destroy, these stories will keep haunting us. This has been Fola's story, a story of pain, survival, and resilience. A story that forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth about the kind of society we've become and the kind we must become if we truly care for our children. Thank you for listening. Thank you for standing with us, sharing these hidden voices. My name is Oluwaseun, and this is my prison stories. Until next time, please continue to share, subscribe, and most importantly, choose compassion.